Hey, it's Matt, your Frontier friend. Been a while. It's only about 25 of you, so many of you probably didn't even notice. I want to talk about the impending situation with using AI for generated content around images, right? And I did a video a little while ago about using ChatGPT Images 2.0, which was great for creating graphics and assets and bringing them into Canva to help me make YouTube thumbnails. And specifically in that video, it was just about an enhancement of myself. I took a picture of myself. In that video, I talked about how I just use a very quick, cheap photo booth app shot from this camera here and then use ChatGPT to upscale it and enhance it. But today I want to talk about what business owners are using with ChatGPT Image 2.0 and one real world situation that I'm in right now. And maybe you can relate. Maybe you can provide some feedback below, but also just be aware of it and maybe start thinking about it. So in my neck of the woods where I'm at, I'm seeing a lot of folks using ChatGPT Image 2.0 to create graphics and promo posters for Facebook posts, right? And social media posts. The agency owner in me who started an agency 25 years ago, no longer run the agency. It's great to see small business owners having access to a machine like ChatGPT that can create, good looking graphics for them. Because I've seen terrible graphics over the years from business owners that just don't know what they're doing with whatever app they were using to make the artwork. Carry over now to 2026. We have ChatGPT, and it's making fantastic posters and announcement posts and graphics. The problem is everybody looks the same now. And I think that's really catching on to the consumer. I know it is for me because I immediately go, I see that. You made that in ChatGPT. I mean, I'm in the space. I'm advocating for it, but also want you to be cautious about it. But I've seen consumers post on other like restaurants and other like political posts of politicians who use ChatGPT for image generation, and people like give them the virtual thumbs down. I've seen people say things like, it's great to see you've got some AI skills, or I can't believe you're using AI to make your restaurant menu and all this other stuff. So it's an interesting thing that's happening with consumerism as they digest marketing and advertisements in media that they know is AI generated. So interesting to see how that might play out from a brand perception. And that's the focus of today. So I have this graphic up on the screen. This is pulled from a local business owner, right? This is clearly ChatGPT, and the signs, the clear signs are, I'm not an artist. I don't know the proper terminology for the layout of an image, but this sort of like paint, what I call like a paint streak. It is like a paintbrush sort of style ribbon effect, and everything is curved. There's like this certain horizon to the wording here, and it sort of helps that primary call to action stand out a little bit. And this is prevalent across all ChatGPT images if you just give it a very base, hey, make me this poster with this information in it. This is how ChatGPT, it's almost like ChatGPT image got trained on one poster, and it continues to repeat that. The typical ribbons, again, background, sort of exploring the day and time that this event is at. The iconography here, which is always the use of icons, and generally 4 icons pulled out to bullet point certain value adds to an event. Again, paintbrush backdrop with another line across it to underscore everything. ChatGPT approaches its design for like poster work like this in a very like, everything is important. Every piece of information here is so important that we're giving it its own sort of highlight, its own sort of emphasis, that I don't see anything. And maybe it's just me because I'm sort of trained on this stuff and I analyze so much of it, but that's just me. So then the actual like what I would call product shots here, these look really great, right? Like these are like really good looking AI generated assets, right? Products, if you will, shirts, shoes, AirPods. These are not properly sized, like shoes being the same size of AirPods is a little ludicrous, but you get the idea. If I go to the next example, this is for an event that's happening, and it's sort of like that same feel. Everything here is so important across the entire poster. I call it a poster because I feel like that's what small businesses are thinking. They're thinking they want a poster to put around, and that's what ChatGPT is giving them. Or maybe like a magazine, a front page a cover to a magazine. But there is so much stuff happening here. I don't know where to turn. There's original photos, which are, this boat, certainly not this bowl of paella, but there's logos, there's icons, there's underscores, there's the real logo to the place. It is intense to the point where you spend time just trying to find the right information. Another one, which is, again, same thing. We can see that sort of paintbrush effect in the back. This one's a little bit better. This one almost feels like either ChatGPT took it a certain way or the person who prompted this said, give me something like more either duotone or watercolor effect. Stay with just one color. Because when you look at these two, there's a ton of color. I mean, they are appealing to look at, but to consume important data or to find a brand recognition, it's super lost. But again, it's 4 logos, the 4 iconography, 5 actually if you count this calendar. Who knows if this QR code actually works? That could work, but I don't know. I didn't test it. This one's a little bit better from the rest, and that's just small businesses. So the warning here is like, how do we educate and how do we prompt ChatGPT to do something better with the graphics that our small business friends are making, or maybe even you're making for your business? Now, this sort of bleeds into not just like typical posters or marketing graphics. I'm working with an individual locally, and he's a smart business person. He's also a local politician, and he was like, "Hey, I want to do a podcast." And I said, "We're going to have to work on the podcast artwork again in another YouTube channel and another part of my career. I am also heavily invested in podcasting." And he's like, "We're going to make the artwork." So with this one, he just said, "Hey, I can do the artwork myself. I'll just send it to you in a little bit. I do it all the time for a lot of my businesses that I run." And he sent me this, which it's a great photo for a podcast cover, especially since the podcast is primarily brand building for his own name, his own brand. But this is typical ChatGPT. And it's fine that he exercised that ability to run on ChatGPT, but what does it mean for the brand? What does it mean for when users are consuming this, going, why am I going to turn to a podcast now and invest my time there when that person maybe feels like the shortcut of ChatGPT was used? So, and again, we're looking at the same thing. We sort of got that horizon type streak across, highlight, the well overused microphone that tons and tons of podcasts use, that you should not use a microphone in your podcast anymore. Everyone tuning into a podcast knows there's a microphone involved. We don't need another one. The 4 iconographies again, and it's not really spaced well. It didn't center the real conversations like it did the rest of the keywords. And again, just like another repeat of a sub headline. And this is the thing that's so prevalent across the board. So all I did in seconds flat was to say, hey, like, this is a good start. This is a good framing for what your podcast could be. How about we do something with less and like have a name? Like, I saw what he was going for with like the real talk, the real conversations, and maybe he put that in his prompt. It could have been something that ChatGPT came up with, but I just said, let's call the podcast Getting Real, and hosted by yourself. And that's it. Like, we don't need to say podcast again because people know it's a podcast. We don't need a microphone. And when I went to ChatGPT, just to show him as an example, I used the same headshot that he provided, and I just told ChatGPT, this time the podcast is going to be called Getting Real. It's hosted by Cliff Pont, and that's all I want for text on this image. I don't want any other icons. I don't want any of the graphics, no other logos, no microphones, no mention of the word podcast. I just gave everything I wanted up front and said, do not do this. Give me just this. And use open source font types so that if I want to go replicate this in Canva, or if I want to manipulate it for a YouTube banner or a Facebook banner, we know what fonts we're using moving forward. So, I mean, this is just a seconds, right, of just having a better prompt. And maybe that's the underlining story across this whole thing is how can ChatGPT and how can we educate users to have better prompts when making assets like this? In another video that I did with Claude Design, I think one of the real strong advantages to Claude Design is that it does ask you a lot of questions, a lot of building the prompt for you before it begins to do the work. Now, I have noticed that if you want different designs to come, the same thing, like Claude Design is working off of like 3 or 4 major design concepts that it's been trained on, and it's not showing me anything different, even with the exceptional prompt building that it does compared to ChatGPT. And to me, like, I'm not seeing leaps and bounds difference in what a ChatGPT is going to output when you ask it to make a graphic versus a Claude Design versus Google Gemini or Nano Banana. It's how they are trained on the data and how you can better prompt it. And I think that that's what's going to hopefully improve next with these LLMs. Like, it's just going to help the user build the prompt better so that we're not getting like the same sort of thing over and over again in just like different aspect ratios. So that's what I have today. I just wanted to have that conversation and put that out into the world, because I think at least almost halfway through 2026, we saw this race to see images get better and video get better, but I would kind of say that over the last 6 months, I haven't seen the jump in generated graphics and generated images as much as we were seeing it through like the last few years. Like every other month we were seeing this sort of leapfrog of better graphics, better design. And we've got Claude Design. They just announced like a 2x on the context now, which is great, or the token usage, which is great, but it's still not a great system. And I think ChatGPT does a great job. You just have to make sure that you're prompting it correctly to avoid the chaos. That's it. Just a long spiel about creating images with LLMs. If you like today's video, thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you want more. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you do with your prompting and how to help people make better graphics and images. I'll talk to you in the next video.